Toxic relationships. Recognize a toxic relationship and learn how to fix it or forget it. Sarah Goldberg. Introduction. Do you stare out of your bedroom window for no particular reason? Do you find it hard to maintain eye contact when you talk to people around you? Does it seem like you're hiding from the world? Are you sick and tired of the continuous pretense that your life seems to be these days? If these questions make you stop and think, then it would do you good to keep on reading. In the following sentences, you're going to unravel the truth behind your misery. This is exactly what Sarah did. Young, smart, intelligent and full of life, Sarah had so many possibilities ahead of her, yet she chose to follow her heart. She was ready to tackle anything that life threw her way. Along came a charming young man. One thing led to another and Sarah ended up marrying him. After just 1 year of their relationship, she started noticing changes in his behavior. These changes were along the lines of frustration with her, anger, and uncontrolled rage over trivial matters. Things started to go downhill from there. He started to degrade her and belittle things, ideas, and people that Sarah held dear. He liked to control every aspect of her life down to the kind of dresses she could wear. At first Sarah refused to see the situation for what it was because she was in denial, but as things started to get worse, she knew her relationship was now not satisfying but toxic in nature. She thought it was just a phase and tried her best to smooth things over, but she failed. After 1 year of living in hell with a man who considered her his property, to be used as he thought fit, Sarah decided she had had enough. She took the first step by refusing to be a pushover. She realized that she had a life full of joy before she ever got married, so she chose to fight and get it all back once again. She started to recognize the fact that if she didn't stand up for herself, then her relationship with this man would destroy her personality and spirit. So, after gathering her courage and willpower, she sought out professional help as well as the counsel of her mother, who then stood beside her in every decision that Sarah made. It was a long, hard journey and she would often just curl up in bed and cry, but the strong-willed girl didn't give up. Today Sarah is a single mother of a very lovely son. She is happy, independent, and confident with her lifestyle, and she is proud of the fact that she had the courage to stand up for herself at that time. She is engaged to Connor, who loves her more than most guys love Monday Night Football. The courage that she managed to show 3 years ago not only helped her in saving herself from an abusive relationship but also secured a bright and happy future for her son. Relationships are not always perfect, regardless of whether they exist between spouses, siblings, business partners, or friends. They are more like a rough road fraught with ups and downs, and to overcome them, both of the involved parties need to compromise so that they can move forward. However, it is easier said than done because more often than not people can't find the balance needed to sail a rocking ship, and ultimately their relationships end in hurt and pain. This is where a thought like, "Am I in a toxic relationship?" originates. A debilitated relationship, also known as a toxic relationship, usually refers to a relationship that drains you emotionally and physically instead of being a source of peace and contentment. Toxic relationships not only make you frustrated, but they also take a toll on your spirituality, personality, and mentality. The loudest indicator of a toxic relationship is the increased level of suffering from stress. Lack of sleep, reduced appetite, avoidance, sullenness, forgetfulness, and anger are all symptoms of stress caused by a toxic relationship. Healing needs guidance, compassion, and compromise from both the parties to bridge gaps, fill voids, and repair the damage incurred by the dysfunctional relationship. Untangling yourself from such parasitic relationships is never an easy feat. It demands a lot of courage, and you have to stop being used. The most important step is to acknowledge the ground realities and work systematically to resolve issues. You need to take control of the life that you have repressed and ignored for so long, create boundaries, stand up for yourself, And don't feel ashamed about it because after all, you are only human. Consider your partner or sibling as your mirror and use what they reflect at you as your guide. Decide whether you can redeem your relationship and see if it is really worth all the effort. If yes, then go ahead and look for answers. If no, then go for a clean break and start fresh. This epoch won't be a walk in the park for those of you who are going through rough times in relationships. It aims to stop you from running and face the music. It will make you question yourself and come to terms with your issues. However, one thing can be said for sure, by the time you're done reading, you'll have a solid plan to make your life easier and happier. Chapter 1, How Do Toxic Relationships Develop? 1.1 Bird's Eye View of Normal Relationships. Relationships, if spoken of in an exclusive context, are special for both of the involved parties. You integrate someone else's life with your own. You let them in emotionally and they get to know you better than the rest of the world. Such attitude is a source of contentment for involved individuals as they cherish the fact that someone out there cares for them and wants what is best for them. This is the psyche of people in a normal relationship, whether it is platonic or romantic. When it comes to identifying a toxic relationship, it is important to look into the other person's past and observe the series of events that has shaped him or her into the person they are today. When you choose a partner, you should be focusing on the parts of his character that really matter to you so that both of you can understand each other better and the relationship maintains its positive tone. 1.2 Things to consider when you enter any relationship. The choice of who you bond with shall always rest with you, so it is only fair that you ask yourself whether you have made the right decision. If you have had some trouble with someone you cared about in the past, then it has to have left deep scars on your personality. When you choose a partner based on how people have treated you in the past, then it is highly likely that you chose the wrong person. Learning to trust again, after being in an abusive relationship, takes a lot of time and courage. This contradiction in your mind, this constant war between what you believe in and what you have learned from hardcore experience can be disastrous for your relationship. Also, it would be better if you get to know the other person before you decide to make any big decisions. Talk to them, see what makes them tick, observe their lifestyle, pick on subtle cues, and interpret body language. It is very important that you be able to pick up on random aggressive gestures and see if the sudden volatile behavior is as harmless as it seems. Emotional stability should never be ignored. 1.3 Why do relationships turn toxic? Often people think of what they did wrong to end up in such a mess. Know this first and foremost, whatever trouble you're facing, it is not all your fault. It takes two to tango. So stop blaming yourself and analyze the situation clinically. Only then shall you be able to see the problems. Most people who are in a toxic relationship fail to read the signs of the negative effect their relationship is having on them. This leads to two kinds of conclusions: that either a person is too self-depreciating to understand that they are being taken advantage of, or they are simply in denial. 1.4 What is negativity and codependence? In a toxic relationship, negativity refers to all things unpleasant. It could simply be that your spouse always forgets to put the toilet seat down, or that the person suffers from obsessive-compulsive disorder and is always cleaning something. Now, these are things that you all can live with. It is codependence that is the real burner here. Codependence can be in relation to low self-esteem or low financial status of one of the partners in a relationship. These two things might appear trivial, but in reality they can change the meaning and positivity of your relationship completely. Such relationships hardly ever survive because you don't have any boundaries that the other person has to respect. You hurt and ultimately end things. 1.5 How do toxic relationships start? The first question that people often ask themselves when they find out that they are in a toxic relationship is, how did we enter in a toxic relationship? The reasons are numerous and some of them are listed below. You are running from the demons of your past. Your partner has his or her own skeletons in their closet that you don't know of. There is too big of a communication gap. Both of you want different things from the relationship. You haven't thought of everything and things are going at a much faster pace. One or both of you refuse to bend or give the other person the respect or space they need. Relationships are all about give and take. You can't expect the other person to reciprocate your feelings if you haven't acknowledged them to your own self in the first place. Toxicity develops when you nurse regrets and don't vent your frustration. It develops into a disease that contaminates your very being. It is best that you take care of matters before you lose a part of yourself forever. Chapter 2: Factors that are involved in a toxic relationship. 2.1 Isolating factor of a toxic relationship. From what you have read so far, you can easily conclude that a toxic relationship is not something that just sprouts out one day. It is similar to a disease that festers gradually and destroys a healthy relationship from the ground above. The big question is, how does a relationship get infected in the first place? What are the factors that cause the very foundations of a bomb to crumble? How can two people who once loved each other come to regret the very sight of the other person? Do feelings change so easily? Are most relationships just seasonal these days? What is the main reason behind the changes that are taking place in your relationship, and why are these changes originating from negativity? There are many reasons behind the occurrence of a toxic relationship, but the main reason is the difference in the traits of your partner that are starting to overrule the good in them. This difference is what triggers the toxic part of the relationship and is basically the isolation factor. 2.2 What are the general traits of the partners that lead to a toxic relationship? When a person is in a relationship, either platonically or romantically, you don't expect the other person to bring down the stars and the moon for you. All anyone ever expects in a relationship is love, respect, and equality, but if these things start to lose ground, then maybe the foundation of the relationship is not as strong as you initially thought. Now the big question here is, why this foundation of your relationship getting weak? To answer this question, one would have to know the other person very well, and they would have to study their behaviors. These behaviors are generally hidden traits that start to show at some point in a relationship. Some of these behaviors or traits are as follows: chronic anger. Anger is usually born out of frustration. Some people like to make sure that things go according to their plans. A slight detour can make them lose their minds. Some of them like to go for contingency plans, while others vent their anger through a shouting match or by starting a blame game. Those who have a slightly aggressive demeanor prefer to let the things around them face the brunt of their rage. However, such exhibitions are tolerable and you can easily work around them. You can talk to your partner once he or she is calmer and make them see the damage that their outbursts cause. You can help them improve their temper or offer alternative coping mechanisms. It is the physical abuse that should raise red alerts. Your personal boundaries should never be violated under any circumstances. There can be no excuse for it. If your partner has some violent streak, then you should seek immediate counseling, as this definitely means that your relationship is not healthy. Dominance. Is your partner trying to control every aspect of your life? Does he keep tabs on where you go, who you meet, and what you do? Dominating behavior can occur in many ways. It can be controlling, overbearing, or sometimes overtly possessive, but in every one of the above-mentioned cases, the end result is disrespect of choice and freedom of the second partner. This leaves the person highly dependent, fearful, and powerless. Isolation. It is one of the most common behavioral traits of people who are in a toxic relationship. If your partner is reluctant to give you the space and independence you need, then you should file this as dangerous. You need to have a life outside of the relationship too. If your spouse believes that you don't need anyone other than him or her, that is definitely something you should not ignore. If the presence of your family members or friends irritates your partner, Talk to them and make them realize the fact that you need your own time and space to be with people you care about. The person who loves you will always want happiness for you, which is often linked with time spent with your friends and family. Isolation from them can leave a person depressed. Addiction. Addiction of any kind is dangerous and harmful for both the partners in a relationship. If one partner is addicted to drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, or even food and is unwilling to control his or her addiction or get the help that they are in need of, then your relationship is in serious jeopardy. An addict is prone to say and do things that are hurtful, unhealthy, and sometimes illegal. So if the partner is unwilling to get rid of the addiction, the other person has some serious thinking to do. 2.3 How to overcome these factors of a toxic relationship. There are numerous factors involved in a toxic relationship, and most of them are seated deep in the person's past. A traumatic event or a childhood loss may have led to the build-up of negativity in that person. To overcome them, first, you have to face your own fears and get over them. You need to boost your self-esteem so that you have the courage to make some tough and possibly life-altering decisions. Leaving a toxic relationship is not easy because somewhere along this bumpy ride, you realize that with all their faults, you still love the other person, and leaving them can break your heart. However, you need to go for a clean break and cut off all ties with the person in hopes of trying to get a better life. In this way you can start your new life with a clean slate where you are an independent person who is not bound by anything or anyone. Chapter 3, Repercussions of a Toxic Relationship. 3.1 Psychological Effects. Everyone responds differently to a toxic relationship. Some are strong-willed people who don't take the after-effects of a toxic relationship to heart. They believe in survival and prefer to stand up again, dust themselves off, and start to move forward with their life. Others are not so fortunate when it comes to moving on after getting out of a toxic relationship. It is not easy to forget every hurtful exchange and every single fallout of a relationship that had spanned many years. The person has to take one step at a time and come to terms with the repercussions of their broken relationship. It can be a painstakingly slow process and requires a lot of courage and determination. It is best that a person seek professional help and talk to someone to ease the pain and discomfort. 3.1.1 Mistrust and Doubt. A person who has suffered from a toxic relationship in the past or has just gotten out of one has a sense of insecurity about them that they cannot get over immediately. The person has a hard time trusting anyone, and they doubt the motive of every single person who is out there to help them or love them. This doubt is not only for friends or for people you work with that care for you, but it can be directed towards the people you share your blood with too, like siblings, parents, and close relatives like cousins. It is natural for them to assume that any act of kindness or compassion directed towards them has some ulterior motive. They no longer trust love, and they frequently doubt the other person's sincerity. Gradually, as the metaphorical scars fade, they come out of their shells and start believing in the goodness that encompasses them. The best way to interact with such skittish people is by giving them time and space to process everything. Don't push them or force them into doing something they are not ready for. All you can do is support them through the dark times, and they'll draw strength from your constant presence. 3.1.2 A deep sense of paranoia. This is a very dangerous side effect that a toxic relationship of the worst kind leaves on a person. It becomes very difficult for such individuals to reach out and interact with other people. They remain closed off in their own shells and reject compassion and concern for their predicament. These people lose touch with reality, and they don't trust anyone who is outside their comfort zone. They stop interacting with people who try to push them, and if forced, the outcome can be far worse than all the harmful effects of a toxic relationship combined together. Such people find relief and solace in meditation and therapies that can help break their walls and slowly bring them back to their old self. These therapies not only bring them out into the real world, but also rebuild their broken self-esteem. 3.1.3 Depression. After struggling through all the tough times in the relationship, there comes a point when all the fight leaves that person. They can no longer see the purpose of their existence and are unable to cope with all the emotions and stress that accompany a painful breakup. Depression not only affects mental health but can wreak havoc on physical health too if it is not taken care of as soon as possible. It leaves the person in a dark place where they wallow in their own misery. They start to blame themselves for what happened and take it to heart. Such people slowly lose touch and start to spend more time in self-pity, destroying their personality and confidence. They are afraid to move on and are stuck second-guessing their every step, sometimes confusing themselves thinking about the what-ifs. The best way to get over your depression is to stay close to the people who love you and would do anything to bring you back to your old, confident, self-assured self. 3.2 Physical effects or aftermath of a toxic relationship. Some people keep going back to the darker period of their life. They relive every event in their memory and the adrenaline rush brings a jolt to their otherwise stagnant self. The human body has its own defense mechanism. The mind closes off to protect itself from further damage, and in this course, the person is likely to feel numb. Instead of giving it time and attending counseling, many victims of toxic relationships grow certain violent tendencies. Such individuals find solace in drugs, alcohol, and other disastrous habits. They come to rely on these substances for clarity of thought, peace, and contentment, whereas they get anything but. Gradually the addiction poisons their very roots. Some people who have no other coping mechanism or help that can take them away from the pain and suffering use physical pain as the best solution. They start to cut themselves, starve, or indulge in other life-threatening activities just to feel the rush of adrenaline. The best way to restore the lives of such unfortunate people is rehab centers, where they are progressively brought back to the lighter and happier side of life with the help of medication, counseling, and other therapies. Chapter 4: How a Toxic Relationship Can Be Fixed. A toxic relationship has many levels into which it can be divided. The first level is the most trivial one, and many people who don't pay attention might not see it or just ignore it, but that doesn't mean that the problem is not there. Such relationships stem from a single seed of doubt and mistrust and grow into a whole new mess. The sooner the person realizes the problem, the faster they can figure it out. The second level in a toxic relationship is the one in which one or both of the partners in a toxic relationship are suffering in one way or another from their relationship. This suffering can be of various kinds. Some of them have been explained in detail. If proper actions are taken to fix the defects of such a toxic relationship, then there are greater chances of saving that relationship. The third stage of a toxic relationship is complicated. Many victims can't find the courage needed to stand up and fight for the values they believe in. They prefer to pretend everything's fine. Following are some steps that can be taken to fix a toxic relationship. 4.1 Stop hiding and see the relationship for what it is. The biggest issue that many people have in this matter is the sense of denial. They find it hard to believe that the person they love so much can hurt them in any way. They make excuses for the other person's actions, but if you want to fix the trouble that is brewing in your proverbial paradise, then you need to first accept the reality as it is. The first step in the right direction is to accept the fact that you are really suffering from your relationship and you need to recognize the kind of relationship you are in. 4.2 Analyze your relationship to be a toxic one. People often choose to stay in a toxic relationship just to keep up the pretense of being a perfect family or couple. They find it easier to improvise and bear the brunt of fallout instead of trying to get out of the mess. If you are not happy from your relationship or are having trouble with your relationship, then you should personally analyze your relationship. Look back and take note of the time when things started to go south. This analysis of your relationship will not only give you an insight on how you can fix the problem, but it will also tell you the right course of action that you should choose. 4.3 The best solution. Remember, if you want what is best for you, you will have to take difficult routes and actions that might not sit well with you. If through your analysis you get the feeling that you cannot fix the relationship or it is beyond repair, then you need to walk away from it and save yourself from further hurt and shame. Remember as well that if you're a victim of physical violence at any time, you need to leave now. Nobody has the right to hurt you, physically or emotionally. But if you think that there is hope for your relationship and you can fix it, then you need to sit down with your partner and talk things through. Some people might need professional help for this purpose because they are not good at communicating their feelings and emotions. 4.4 Fix it together. When it comes to sticking up for yourself and protecting your honor from further hurt and degradation, then you need to involve your partner in saving the relationship too. Have a one-on-one meeting with them in the spirit of the love that you share and humility. You are not only doing it for yourself but for the health and safety of the other person as well. If you are uncomfortable with doing this alone, then ask someone to be there as a third party so that they can communicate between the two of you, and in this instance, having a trained professional present, such as a relationship counselor, is best. Share your analysis and wait for your partner's reaction towards it. There is no guarantee of the type of reaction they will give you, but you have to do what you have to do and speak your truth. You are only responsible for your own actions and what you can do to make this relationship work. Cooperation is the basic thing that a person needs at this point. Make some boundaries and ground rules that you both need to follow. Make sure that your point is clear, that these boundaries are non-negotiable. Make sure that you stick to the limits that you have defined and do not compromise on them. It is the only way to gain mutual respect and tolerance for each other. Once you start on this foundation of firm boundaries, you need to remember that if they are violated, you have the right to end the relationship. Nobody has the right to continually violate your boundaries. 4.5 The final solution. If any of your methods for making this relationship are not working, then you need to dislodge yourself from this relationship. Just walk away before the time you spend with that person leaves permanent scars on your life. Although it might hurt and you will grieve and feel the pain from the loss of that person in your life, all these reactions are normal and they prove the fact that you are human. Chapter 5 How does a person recover from a toxic relationship? Ending a toxic relationship is not easy because it requires incredible willpower and a strong hold on emotions. You are only successful in freeing yourself from your toxic relationship when you leave without looking back. You come to the realization that your own values and sentiments are not to be trodden upon and discarded by the wayside in a relationship. See the relationship as the parasite it was and don't regret your decision. If any of these feelings are lurking in the back of your mind, then you are not completely free from its hold. There are many ways of recovering from a toxic relationship. Some of them are as follows. Forgiveness. You should have the heart to forgive the person with whom you had a toxic relationship, so that you can free yourself from any kind of hold that they had on you and your heart. Give yourself time to heal. When you break off a toxic relationship, no one expects you to move on with your life overnight. Take some time for yourself, sort out your feelings and talk to people you love. Be patient with yourself, stay positive and remember that with time you will heal, because life is too short to wallow in despair forever and healing will come with time. Move on and let go of the past. You cannot force anyone to admit their wrongs in an act, so holding a grudge against them will lead you nowhere, and the after effect of it will be that you won't be able to move forward with your own life. Every step forward in your life will be bounded by this grudge, so it would be a lot easier for you if you simply forgive and forget. Talk about it with someone you trust. The best way of getting the darkness out of yourself is to talk about it. You can talk to someone you love and trust with your secrets. If this doesn't work out the way you want, then you can seek professional help. They can give you proper advice in this matter and will help you open yourself up for future relationships and trust. It all comes down to a few things. No relationship comes with a happily ever after guarantee. But that doesn't mean that you should closet yourself. Life is full of surprises. Have heart and explore it. You'll eventually find what you're looking for, and all the hardships you face in the meantime shall only work to make you stronger and wiser. This is exactly what Sarah did. We see people stuck in toxic relationships every day. Bars and clubs often teem with loners who are out to kill their worries by indulging in drinking and promiscuous activities. But that is not the solution to any of their problems. Drugs and alcohol are only effective in inducing a stupor but cannot get you out of your troubles. Nothing can except when you decide to change your own situation. In the US and many other countries, the divorce rate is increasing drastically. This is because people tend to jump headfirst in a relationship and only realize later that it was not something they want after all. The best ways of getting over a relationship are: keep yourself busy with work or any other form of physical exercise. Seek psychological help or talk to someone who can guide you in the right direction. If you think that the issues you and your partner have cannot be solved, then you need to break things off with that person. I hope you've found this guide of some use if you want to solve your toxic relationship or if you want to get out of it. Further resources. Here is an extremely helpful course hosted on the educational site Udemy. It's super easy to use with great courses taught by experts. You'll probably find it very useful after reading the content in this book as follow-on information that can be helpful in your own relationships. Secrets of True Love Soulmate Relationships. Course description: if you're tired of drama, conflict, and disappointment and ready for real, true love and a deep, fulfilling relationship, we welcome you to join us on the journey of creating an enlightened relationship. In this course, we will answer the following questions. What is an enlightened relationship? What causes the in love experience, and why does it fade? How can I create lasting love in my relationship? How can I love her one minute and hate her the next? I feel he's my soulmate, so why do we constantly fight? I don't want conflict, so why do I keep doing it? Sometimes my partner or I will fly off the handle about something small. Why does this happen and how can I stop it? It's so hard to talk to my partner about difficult topics. How can I make talking easier? Why do I keep attracting the same person and same relationship over and over again? How can I heal my pain from past relationships? How do I find my soulmate? What can I do to truly experience true love? I want to be happy, so, what's the secret? All this and more. There is a science to true love, and we've discovered it and live it every day. It's not a secret anymore. Take the course to find out how you can experience a true love, soulmate, enlightened relationship. Other books that have been very helpful and insightful to provide solutions for this issue can be found on Amazon. Some of them are listed below. Toxic Relationships and How to Change Them, Health and Holiness in Everyday Life. By Clinton McLemore. Toxic Relationship, How to Regain Lost Power in Your Relationship. By Kimberly J. Brasher. Freedom from Toxic Relationships, Moving on from the Family, Work, and Relationship Issues That Bring You Down. By Avriel Carruthers. Toxic Relationships, Abuse and Its Aftermath. By Sam Vanin, author, Lydia Rangelovska, editor. Why Can't You Read My Mind? Overcoming the 9 Toxic Thought Patterns That Get in the Way of a Loving Relationship. By Ph.D. Jeffrey Bernstein, author, Ph.D. Susan McGee, author.